All right, it's the Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast, where I'm going to look at loan plays and strategies specifically designed for GPPs. This is a show for people who are already informed on daily fantasy sports and how these contests operate. If you have any questions related to NASCAR, it isn't a stupid question, feel free to shoot them away on Twitter, BrandonCruzDFS. Most importantly, take everything here with a grain of salt and use your best judgment when making entries. Additionally, if you have gambling addiction, that's just not my problem. Check your sense of feelings at the door. We're talking about the Atlanta Motor Speedway event, the festivities, the race at Atlanta for the Cup Series in this one right here. Couple things I want to touch on before we actually get into kind of ranking the drivers. I've already done the projections. I've already made some lineups, kind of looking at things. The same thing like the live show last week, which I had a lot of fun doing. I try and identify what plays or what type of lineups are going to be popular and what type of lineups are most likely to be optimal, and kind of pivot off that. Kind of like that's why I really enjoyed last week's live show. I really like that. Jordan's going to be joining me again this week, so hopefully we can do something like that. Either talk about lineups or talk about things differently, so check us out. Probably going to be Sunday, I'm guessing probably noon Eastern, 11 Eastern, somewhere around there. We'll figure it out, but I wanted to put that out there. Secondly, it's going to be hot here in Atlanta this weekend. I can't think of a more miserable experience than being in Atlanta, Georgia in the heart of July with all the humidity. So when you're looking at past Atlanta races, it's going to scream Harvick. It's going to scream certain guys, whereas I'm looking like when it's this extreme, because most of the races at Atlanta have usually been ran as like the second or third or fourth race in the season. So in February and March, in way cooler temperatures. With COVID, that was the first race that we had a event, closer in June, or at least closer to this weather, and you saw Tricks and some other guys getting advantage. Then it cooled down a lot. We had overcast, and Harvick was able to come through. I don't think we're going to see that this week. So if you're one of those weather guys, if you like looking at guys who do well on hot tracks, on tracks that obviously have higher tire wear, like those are correlations I'm going to be relying heavily on this weekend. We do have isolated thunderstorms throughout the Atlanta area and around the racetrack this weekend. Currently, obviously I'm recording this on Thursday. Saturday for the Xfinity Series, it's going to be 88 degrees with 70% chance of humidity, or humidity is going to be at 70. 30% chance of rain. That's brutal. Sunday is about the same, 88 degrees Fahrenheit, around 67 humidity. Like, this is a race where I think we're going to see fatigue really play. Like, this is going to be a brutal race for the drivers. And NASCAR talks about safety and everything. I don't know why they don't mandate the wetsuits for all these drivers, or the ones that cool them off. Like, wouldn't that, if NASCAR's so about, like, if they're caring so much about safety, wouldn't they make everybody wear those? Like, come on. So what's the over or under? We have a Bubba Wallace heat stroke day, because every time there's a hot race, you always see Bubba Wallace. I gotta stop making fun of Bubba Wallace. Let's actually start talking about the race here. And so obviously I'm going to be looking at my other screen quite a bit to look at projections, look at previous data, or look at all the data that I'm looking at, which you can find at racewiththeprize.com if you want to get that type of stuff. But looking at where we're at right now, I'm kind of breaking this up because I could talk about a lot of the mid-range for an hour. Like, a lot of the 8K range, a lot of the 8K drivers, a lot of the 9K drivers, like, you can make a case for nearly everyone in that area. And so really pinning it down, who do I think is going to lead laps? And so let's kind of take Larson out of the situation, because I'm assuming Larson wins this race again, despite the fact I know it's a warmer track than it was when he finished second here earlier in the year. I know I just said all that stuff, but Larson's the fastest guy in NASCAR right now. He's the fastest car. He's most likely going to get up there and lead at some point in this race. This type of racetrack fits his driving style. And have you seen pictures of Atlanta? Not the future one, because we're going to have, Daytona 400 next year with the repave. But the asphalt of this track, it's like just shards of glass. It's falling apart. And so I think we're going to see even more tire wear than what we're used to. I think we might see some tire issues. And so maybe, and I don't even know how much of a case it would be, but if you want to go back and look at the guys who fall off heavily in runs, either in long runs on high abrasive tracks or just in general, like who is really struggling at the end of a tire run on certain tracks, I think that'd be interesting to look at as well. Just want to put that out there. So removing Larson from the equation, I think Kyle Busch has a really good chance of leading quite a few laps. I think Martin Truex Jr. has a good chance of leading. in this race. I don't see Elliott really sticking up there. We have a competition caution early in the race. That just hurt the pole sitter, and I don't see the speed from Elliott. Like, I would much rather go with the other Hendrick teammates than Elliott here. I know this is a home track. I know blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Larson, obviously. Bowman and William Byron would probably be the next guys that I would throw in that, and then Ryan Blaney at the very end. Those are the guys that I would consider to be lap leaders, and those are the guys that I'm going to focus on trying to get in and out of lineups here. So obviously my favorite is Larson. My second favorite right now is Kyle Busch. I just think it's those two guys. Like, this is aiming. This really seems to me like a Kyle Busch week. I'll see what other people think, but right now on Thursday, I'm pretty high on Kyle Busch. So let's start breaking down, my rankings of everyone. Then let's talk about some lineups that I'm seeing. So obviously, I already told you I'm just in love with Kyle Busch. Denny Hamlin as well. I don't see a situation where we have both Kyle Busch, Hamlin, and Truex do well. I think it's going to be one of these three guys. I think it's Kyle Busch, Truex, and then Hamlin. But I'm going to try and get ownership to all these guys because I think they can all do pretty well. And Tyler Reddick, I think he kind of struggles here. Same thing at Kurt Busch. I think they kind of fall back and finish around 13th, 14th. But with their DraftKings points that you get with them doing that, I would banish them to the Shadow Realm, as I did last week in the live show. Sorry, I got distracted. Logano's slightly there. Like, we've seen Logano. It's so weird seeing how Logano has ran this year. Like, he is either up on there and racing, or he's just not there at all. And the tracks that he is not there at all is the intermediate tracks. I mean, I want to play Logano as much as I can at the short tracks, as much as I can at tracks that are ran in the higher horsepower package, or road courses. But I'm just not a big fan of Hamlin right now. The only time he showed any speed this season has been the two Pocono races. So I mean, I'm keeping Logano in there in case I do get to him, but I don't think I will. You guys don't care. I'm just blabbering on too much. Okay, so Briscoe's a big no for me. DeBenedetto's a big no for me. I'm probably going to be high on Austin Dillon this weekend. That's just where I'm at. I probably like Austin Dillon more than is comfortable. I have him easily getting value here, and he's too cheap. Austin Dillon is too cheap right there for this race. I got Blaney just under 5x. I got him at 4.9. Give him around 51 points, 52 points. Stenhouse, I love Stenhouse here. I think his team is going to put it all for this race because Stenhouse had a really good run earlier in the year here. Obviously, we saw him walk away with a 12th place finish. This has been one of his better intermediate tracks, oddly enough. Maybe it's just the tire wear that we've seen, or maybe it's just the style of racing. But this really seems to suit Stenhouse, and I think we can see Stenhouse really fighting for a top 10. And we've seen him run extremely well. I want to talk about Nashville a little bit, or at least the tracks I'm kind of looking at. Obviously, high wear tracks. Nashville didn't exactly have fall off, but I'm really interested in Nashville. Charlotte is just a baseline. Like, Charlotte is pretty much the best situation for an intermediate program. The pavement is perfect. The track is perfect. It is all based on speed. So if you look at the Coca-Cola 600, I think that's a great way to gauge where every team is in general on their intermediate package and where they ran for the majority of this race. I want to put that out there, and obviously looking back at Darlington to see how he ran, to see how guys ran there at Atlanta earlier in the year, at Homestead, Vegas. But I just want to put that out there. I'm probably all over the place today, but I like Stenhouse a lot. I like Bowman a lot. I like Bowman over his teammate William Byron. I think William Byron is a bit overpriced here. I don't know why there's $600. These guys should be like dead even on the salaries. I don't agree with the $600 difference at all. Busher, I don't know why Busher is 8.6. I'm giving Busher 38 points. Like, I don't think that's crazy at all. Because of that, he's not hitting value for me. He's not really in in the discussion for me. The guy who's in the discussion is Eric Almirola. I love Eric Almirola here. Same thing that I've been saying. I mean, he's just had absolutely bad luck. We're seeing Stuart Haas slowly catch up this year. Like we're over halfway through the year, and we're seeing improvements in this package, in this car, and within this team in general. Cole Custer as well. But Eric Almirola, he's finally getting out of starting in the rear. They pretty much said, hey, that's what's really hurting us, is because we're spending the entire first half of the race dealing with all these idiots around us. We haven't been able to really dial in the car. I think starting 20th is really going to help them out. And I think we're going to see Eric Almirola go back to true form, back to where he was last year when he had that speed, back to when we were considered playing him each and every week, because of that, I think $8,000 is just too cheap. I would rather be ahead of the curve on Eric Almirola. I've only played him about twice this year. And he keeps burning people. I really want to be heavy on Eric Almirola this week. I'm giving Kevin Harvick 53 points, just under a 5x value for me. I think Harvick struggles. I know I just mentioned Eric Almirola, but when I mean Harvick struggles, I mean, hey, I don't think he's going to win the race. I think Harvick finishes around 7th, 6th. He's still going to get some fast laps. But I just don't see him taking lead. I don't see him really pushing himself into the top 4. And because of that, you know, he's overpriced. I think he's going to be really popular, especially seeing him starting 21st. We're going to see a lot of guys trying to go for the place differential plays. I think Harvick's going to be popular, and I'm probably going to be off of Harvick this week, but that's just where I am. Right now, I think Jones hits value pretty easily. I think Cole Custer is a great play, and I think Bubba Wallace hit value right here. So pretty much the guys starting in the low 20s are all guys who should be able to race their way up to 16, 17, 18, somewhere around there. That's kind of the area I'm projecting Jones, Custer, and Wallace at. Let's see, Michael McDowell, not going to be there for me. Corey LaJoy, just on the cusp of a 5X. I got him for 4.9 right now. I think you do need to consider him if you need to get in the 5K range. That's where I need to keep deleting these. I always forget. Moving up to Daniel Suarez. So Suarez and Newman are just blatant misprices, in my opinion. We've seen the improvements that Suarez has had. We've seen where they are. Like, this is a top 13 team. This is the top 12 team. $7,700 is too cheap. Haley's not going to be there. And then Ryan Newman, I have him as the best value here. Right now I'm giving him 45 points. Might knock that down to 43 or 42, but I just don't see a way that Newman is not optimal. It is very hard for me to see that. Seeing how this team has performed on the intermediate tracks this entire year, like starting 29th, him getting up to 15th, 16th, it's hard for me to envision ways that he doesn't get there. Looking at places that Newman has struggled this year, obviously didn't run very well at Pocono. Different beast than here. Nashville ran well. Charlotte was running 12th, cut down a tire late in the race in the Coca-Cola 600. Coda, obviously that's a road course. Dover, kind of concerning. 23rd there, and typically you see correlation between Dover and Charlotte, but I'm okay with that. Darlington, he ran 10th. Kansas 16th, or at least these are his finishing positions. And then obviously finished 13th here in the spring at Atlanta. Like, I just don't see a situation where Newman doesn't gain, like, let's see, where are we at? Like, where he passes like 15 positions. Like, it's just hard for me. And so I think Newman's chalk that you have to eat. Maybe don't go 100%, but I have no problem eating the chalk for Ryan Newman at all. And then I don't see much of these guys. I see Alfredo barely getting 23 points, 24, 25, maybe 26 points. I just don't see it from Alfredo. Not going to be playing him. Not going to be playing any of these guys in the back. So this is the pool that I want to work with. These are the guys that I want to focus on this week. Yet again, you can get my projections on, excuse me, man, I'm just yapping too much. You can find them at BrandonCruzDFS, the Patreon, up below, or up below, up above. So let's kind of look at lineups that we're seeing. Let's kind of look at guys that I think are going to be drawing ownership. Man, I need a cough button. Yet again, I think Newman's going to be probably the highest owned driver. It's just hard for me to envision situations where he doesn't work. Bubba Wallace is gaining a lot of ownership, or at least in my projections of where my, not projected ownership, but where like my lineups are. I'm very high on Newman. I'm very high on Bubba Wallace. Eric Almirola already made the argument there. Alex Bowman, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Austin Dillon. Those are probably going to be the guys that I'm focusing on the most. What's surprising is that Chastain is actually popping up in a lot of lineups for me. And I don't have Chastain projected to do incredibly well, but I guess it's just trying to shove him in with the $7,200 price tag, which is a bit crazy, because what do I have him right now? Because I got Chastain with a 4.5 value. He ran extremely well here in the spring. He was our main pivot, and he finished well. Just I think he's starting too high up. I think $7,200 is going to hurt you. However, I'm giving him 33 points right now. If I think he can hold on, like, what is that? I'm giving him 10th right now. Maybe if he holds on, maybe I need to listen to other people. Or maybe they can either talk me into Chastain or talk me out. Right now, I'm pretty neutral on Chastain, opinion-wise. But he's popping up in a lot of lineups. My main one right now is wanting to go Joe Gibbs heavy. So it's looking like it's either going to be Larson or Kyle Busch, or Larson or Martin Truex Jr., at least in my early projections. That's where we're at. So kind of what I said earlier, I think it's one of the Joe Gibbs guys does extremely well, and then it's some of the Hendrick drivers and some of the good value plays that you see. I don't even see a need to play any of the 5K guys other than Corey LaJoie, and so LaJoie would be the lowest I would go. Honestly, I think head-to-head between LaJoie and McDowell, I think LaJoie actually runs better. And I want to play a lot of the 7K guys and a lot of the 8K guys that I think are mispriced. So like I said, the Eric Almirola, Austin Dillon is probably going to be a place that I probably try and go overweight on. And then trying to just be overweight on Jones, Custer, and Wallace, and let the other guys fall in line in my lineups. Maybe it changes. Maybe it changes before Sunday. That's why you got to tune in and listen to Jordan and I chit-chat and talk about that. But that's where we're at right now. Hopefully this kind of gives you an idea of where I'm at and kind of helps you out. If you want to support me, Patreon up there, PayPal down in the description. And thank you guys for watching. And yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.